Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the Corbin Russwin 27B2 7PIN 10. This is a key blank from Corbin Russwin, obviously. This is a fairly common key blank in the sense that, it's just a key blank. It's a 7-pin blank, maybe 6-pin or more common, I suppose. It's a -10 or -10 that talks about what's happening on the bow. It's a 27B2 keyway. I can't say that that's particularly common for me personally, but it's a very typical and common keyway for Corbin. Actually, it was a Corbin keyway. Now, of course, Corbin Russwin. And that's what this is. So the 27B2 is the keyway. The keyway is a 27, which is an X class from, just trying to get a little better focus on that. It's not really helping. I'll show you some images of this in a moment. The 27 is an X class from Corbin that is decades and decades old. This was probably introduced in the mid-1960s, I think. We'll take a look at that. And, if you need a 27B2, your key system is probably old. Your installation's probably older, and there's certainly nothing wrong with the locks, and that's why Corbin Russwin maintains all of these keyways that have existed literally since the last quarter of the 19th century. I don't think you can get a 97 key blank cut, but, stuff that's, early 20th century, that's all still in play. These keyways, because they were around for decades. The 27 may have come in many years before a 27B2. But locks are meant to last, and they do. They can't stop making key blanks just because your lock is from 1968. Well, I'm glad that they don't just stop making key blanks. The 7-pin, that's obvious. That tells us the length of the blade. They can do 5, 6, 7-pin length key blanks. You certainly want to order the length that your environment is in. If they're longer, that might cause you trouble. The length of the blade from the shoulder stop to the top of the blade, that's 1.172 roughly. 1.172. You know what? Let me give you the root or the blade height as well. From the root to the top of the blade, that is 0.33. 0.33 is the height of that. That is the consolidated, amalgamated Corbin and Russwin bow that's on there. That's the modern bow. Takes elements from, a Russwin bow, a Corbin bow, and I think 2 Corbin bows and a Russwin bow. And then the -10, that means 2 things. It means that it's a standard bow. And the 1 means a standard bow. The 0 means that it is coined on this side with the factory's information. And then the other side is blank, even though this key has 27B2 on it, which I can't say is standard because that's not indicated in the catalog that they stamp the keyway on it, but this key blank has it. Let's switch to the screen view and take a closer look at some supporting documentation. Okay, now here is indeed the item that we are looking at. Let's take a look at those images I had mentioned. Here's the front of the blank. The next picture is going to be what the milling profile of the blank looks like. The back side of the blank, and then the milling profile from that side. Not really helpful, but gives you an idea of what it looks like. Okay, back to the item we're looking at. It does tell us it's an X-class bitting. 7-pin 27B2 keyway is there. Now, below this video here is a link to the manufacturer's page. That link is going to allow us to get to a document that I'd like to show you in a moment. First, I'd like to show you, and before we dive into the resources that are here, let's look at the cut sheet that's linked to down below. It's just a 2-page document that will allow us to kind of summarize these key blanks. So, as I said earlier, it's keyway, length of the blank, and then your bow, and then any special features. 27B2 7-pin 1, because we have a standard bow, and then a 0, which is a coined logo. Standard bow, a coined logo. The bow shape is standard, is what I'm driving at. And it's a coined logo on one side. The other side is blank, just like they have here. The -10 is by far the most common key blank that you'd see. But you could also do visual key control by either having a -12, which would literally say do not duplicate, or a -11. Now, to the trained observer, they're going to know that that's a Corbin Russwin bow, but it doesn't give you much other information beyond that. And I would think if you wanted to not even have the keyway on there, you might have it as a -11. That's called visual key control, and most locksmiths actually will observe that, although there's no actual reason that would prevent them from duplicating the key because the keyway is non-restricted. There are other bow shapes, however, the 1, the 5, the 9. We can look at a history of bows as well. The 5 is just a larger bow, which I don't even recall having seen one. The 9 is a obsolete security bow on a key system that is no longer commercially available. But I understand that they are allowed to support existing systems. This is an unusual system of interlocking pins, and you'll know it when you see that type of bow. That's the security bow. Now, that document that I mentioned on the manufacturer's page, that document is called the Cylinder Manual, Corbin Russwin Cylinder Manual. You'll want to click on that. That is going to allow you to review 100-plus pages of the history of Corbin Russwin from the earliest origins that they can come up with in terms of information to about the year 2000 in my estimation, maybe just after that. What that means is it talks about the history of all of the keyways. You may not be aware of it, but Corbin has dozens of keyways. Corbin Russwin, anyway, their histories, broken down into these classes. And this is actually a neat way to be able to look at the way that they put together the key blank. It's an amalgamation of these two Corbin blanks. You'll know that as a Corbin 60. You'll know that as a really old keyway. Really old. That's the Russwin keyway. If you know that, you probably see a Russwin D1, sort of blank. So they've taken elements, the top portion there, the sides, or maybe the sides of this here. Well, no, actually, the sides of the original Corbin, the top of the 60 Corbin, and then the preparation for the keyring here are all elements. Talks about what keyways and classes are under those keyways. Here's a family tree of those keyways. You can see in the lower left-hand corner where that X class is, which you may not have picked up on it, but the 27 is under the X class. And that tells us that it can be done in both non-System 70 and System 70, which means two-step system that was done prior to 1970, and then single-step system that was done 1970 and after. As you continue to scroll through the document, you will continue to discover priceless information when it comes to Corbin Russwin. And if you work in a Corbin Russwin environment, it would be my estimation that doing so successfully would be substantially hampered by not having read this document twice, 3 times, that kind of thing. I'm going to scroll, and every page I'm scrolling past is required reading, in my opinion, if you work in a Corbin Russwin environment. More information on key blanks here in the cylinder manual. Talk about how the bow's put together. We're going to get to page 20, I think, is where we want to be. The 20th page of the document, page 17. And that talks about the Corbin 27. History. Corbin 27 replaced the 97 as Corbin stock keyway about 1924. Okay. The A1 was added in 1930. The rest were added in 1963. So the 27B2 can literally be a key system that's, approaching 70 years old at this point. You could easily have locks that are literally that old, and that must be, I don't know where this is going to. I know it's going to Brooklyn, New York, and what that means to me is it's an old city. I mean, Brooklyn was a borough when Alexander Hamilton was running around. So the point is you expect to have old locks installed in these old urban areas, Chicago, New York, older cities. Detroit. So that is the 27B2 showing it in this multiplex system here. These are multi-section blanks. Down here are just the cylinder plugs. Now I'm going to scroll to about the 79th page, because I know that's where the depth and spacing data is for the X class. Or maybe it's the 70th page. Yeah. Okay, so X class is on page 66. X class, system 70. You'll note that there are 6 depths here. That's a single step system. Other important information down here. And then the Corbin X class pre-system 70, you'll note that there are 10 depths here, which makes it a 2-step system. Same key blank, but how you're going to cut the key blank will be very different based on what environment you're working in. But it's all a 27 series, key blank from Corbin Russwin. Okay, very handy document. This is not to be discarded if you're reviewing it. I have literally read this cover to cover at least twice. Now, also on the manufacturer's page, you'll be able to review not only all of the Corbin Russwin products we sell by means of this horizontal navigation, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog. If you would like to do an extremely deep dive into Corbin Master Ring, which was a technology that was discovered in the late 19th century, here would be an article written on that and a companion video on that technology. Let's wrap up this video on camera. If there are any questions on this 27B2 7PIN-10, feel free to reach out. I'd be happy to help make sure that you get the right product. It is very helpful to have read and studied, in fact, that document. The Corbin Russwin Cylinder Manual is a cornerstone document when it comes to the pursuit of, or the educational pursuits of locksmithing in general, at least in North America, that's to be sure. Very high quality blank from a very high quality company. Any questions on the 27B2 7PIN-10 or any other Corbin Russwin item, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you. Again, thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.